Good morning, I'm Brother Jason. This is the Baptist Catechism. Question 80 asks us, which is required in the 8th commandment? The 8th commandment requires that we pursue lawful and useful work to provide for our needs and for those unable to provide for themselves. And Jesus said, you'll always have the poor with you. You can help them whenever you wish. But there's also this expectation that man will work, that we will work hard and we'll do whatever we have to do lawfully to provide for our own needs. We can help those who desperately have needs, but every person should work. Let's look at what the Bible has to say here. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 28. He who steals must steal no longer, but rather let him labor, performing with his own hands what is good, so that he will have something to share with one who has need. Can you imagine what our society would look like if everybody did something useful? That everybody who is currently sitting around on their rear end, not working, would actually get up and do something useful. Maybe go outside, plant some seeds, grow a garden, do those kind of things and provide for themselves. That everybody was providing for their own self. We get rid of the central banks, get rid of all the things that are hindering folks, and everybody could provide for themselves. That would be a strong society. And then when somebody actually had a real need, there would be plenty to give to that person who has a need. The Bible here tells us that we should not steal. Theft in all of its forms is what God is against. That includes usury, includes inflation, includes all these other mechanisms of theft. But we need to work. We need to work hard so that we can perform with our own hands what is good. And then when there is a need, we'll have something to give to those who desperately need it. There's always going to be a need. We need to be able to do what we can to help those people out. Proverbs chapter 27, verse 23 tells us, know well the condition of your flocks. Pay attention to your herds. In other words, pay attention to what is yours, your possessions, your work, your area of responsibility. If you were a shepherd, you needed to pay attention to each one of those sheep. You needed to know exactly what was going on so that you can know where the sheep are, how to protect them, how to help them. And so you need to pay attention to your own business. Pay attention to your own business. There's a lot of people who are meddling in everybody else's, but do what you need to pay attention to your own business. I personally have a business. If I did not pay attention to that business, I wouldn't have that business much longer because it would be wasted and run over and people would steal it and take it. So we need to pay attention to that. Pay attention to your herds. Pay attention to what's your responsibility. What is the responsibility of each man? Do what you need to lawfully to protect your goods and take care of your needs. Don't put yourself in unnecessary debt. Make sure that you're doing what you can to provide for your own family. Work hard. Do your duty in that. Leviticus chapter 25, verse 35. Now, in case a countryman of yours becomes poor and his means with regard to you falter, then you are to sustain him like a stranger or a sojourner, that he may live with you. Do not take usurious interest from him, but revere your God, that your countrymen may live with you. Somebody was living in your neighborhood, and for some reason or another, they became very destitute. Maybe their crops didn't work out. Maybe they lost all their animals. Some things happened. Do what you can to help them along. Don't make it so that they're completely dependent on you. Give him what he needs. Continue to help him. We don't want to foster an environment of people who just want to mooch off the government or mooch off of that help, that benevolent help, but you help them get on their feet a little bit so that they can take care of their own needs again. And then it says, don't take usurious interest of them. Our modern banking system is based on usury. There's so much interest that goes out in your credit cards, and even when people pay with a credit card, they're taking 3% off of every transaction. Usury is everywhere around us. It's become commonplace and normal, but God said that's not the way it should be. People shouldn't be making money just off of financial transactions. And the private central banks do this all of the time, the credit cards and all that. Don't do that. Don't live like that. That's right there. God says you don't do that, but revere God, that your countrymen may live with you. Perhaps we need to get rid of that system. But we don't want to loan somebody something at 35% interest and then try to get it back. Don't go to those loan shark or check cashing places, because that's what's going to get you in trouble. Work hard. If there's somebody next to you that needs help, help them. Don't give expecting to get paid back a whole bunch more. That's not the way we should interact with one another. Deuteronomy 15, verse 9. Beware that there is no base thought in your heart saying, the seventh year, the year of remission is near, and your eye is hostile toward your poor brother, and you give him nothing. Then he may cry to the Lord against you, and it will be a sin in you. You shall give generously to him, and your heart shall not be grieved when you give to him, because for this thing the Lord will bless you in all your work and all your undertakings. For the poor will never cease to be in your land. Therefore I command you, saying, you shall freely open your hand to your brother, to your needy and poor in your land. This is one of the reasons why so many churches do benevolence. We should, on a regular basis, help those who desperately need it. Jesus said, the poor will always be with you. He's actually quoting here from Deuteronomy chapter 15, verse 11. We should help the poor. But also, we have to understand the reason why we give is because the Lord will bless so that we can give. God has blessed, and God wants us to give, so let us give. And as we give to the Lord and help those around us, the Lord will bless even more. That's your original prosperity. If you want to be blessed by God, then you need to bless your poor neighbor right next to you. Don't grumble about it. Help them out the best you can. This was what God had commanded the children of Israel. One more verse out of Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 1. You shall not see your countryman's ox or his sheep straying away and pay no attention to them. You shall certainly bring them back to your countrymen. So while it's true that each one of us should pay attention to our own flocks and our own herds, know well the condition of that. If we happen to see something going on with our neighbors or our brothers' flocks that is not good, we need to stop and help them out the best we can. Do you see someone robbing a neighbor's business? Well, call the police. Stop the robbery. Don't let that go on. Don't let your neighbor or somebody else who's next to you get looted in the middle of the night. If you see something going wrong when someone else is not there to pay attention to it, do what you can to stop and help. And this is this responsibility God put on the shoulders of the children of Israel. We were supposed to do that. So pay attention to that and help those people. Question 80. What is required in the 8th commandment? The answer: the 8th commandment requires that we pursue lawful and useful work to provide for our needs and for those unable to provide for themselves.